Democratic Republic of Congo is a nation of immense potential, blessed with abundant natural resources and a rich cultural tapestry. However, despite these advantages, the country remains one of the most troubled and underdeveloped in the world. At the heart of its challenges lie two deeply intertwined issues: corruption and tribalism. These factors not only perpetuate a cycle of instability and poverty, but also contribute to severe human rights abuses, particularly against minority groups such as the Tutsi and Banyarwanda. These combined challenges have created a complex web of problems that continue to hinder the nation's progress. The impact of corruption is a pervasive issue in the DRC, affecting every level of society from the highest echelons of government to local institutions. It manifests in various forms, including embezzlement, bribery, and the misuse of public office for personal gain. This systemic corruption has severely undermined the country's governance, leading to a breakdown in the delivery of essential services such as healthcare, education, and infrastructure. The mismanagement of the DRC's vast natural resources is one of the most egregious examples of corruption. Despite being home to some of the world's richest deposits of minerals like cobalt, copper, and diamonds, the wealth generated from these resources rarely benefits the Congolese people. Instead, it is siphoned off by corrupt officials and foreign corporations, leaving the majority of the population in dire poverty. This exploitation not only deprives the country of the revenue needed for development, but also fuels conflict. As various armed groups vie for control over these lucrative resources, corruption also plays a critical role in perpetuating violence and instability in the DRC. Corrupt officials often collude with armed groups, enabling them to operate with impunity and continue their campaigns of violence and terror. This has contributed to a cycle of conflict that has devastated the country, leading to millions of deaths and displacements over the past few decades. Tribalism and its devastating effects. Tribalism, or the strong allegiance to one's ethnic group at the expense of national unity, is another significant issue in the DRC. With over 200 ethnic groups, the country is one of the most ethnically diverse in the world. However, this diversity has often been manipulated by political leaders for their gain, exacerbating divisions and fueling conflict. Political leaders have historically exploited tribal affiliations to secure power, often pitting different ethnic groups against one another to maintain control. This manipulation has led to deep-seated tensions and violence between various communities, further fragmenting the nation. Tribalism has also prevented the emergence of a strong national identity, with many people prioritizing their ethnic group over the broader interests of the country. Human rights abuses against minority groups. The intersection of corruption, tribalism, and weak governance has also led to widespread human rights abuses, particularly against minority groups like the Tutsi and Banyarwanda. These communities have historically faced persecution and discrimination, often being scapegoated for the country's problems or targeted in ethnic violence. The Tutsi, who are often associated with Rwanda due to their shared ethnic heritage, have been particularly vulnerable. During the Congo Wars and in the years following, Tutsi communities in the eastern DRC were subjected to brutal attacks, including massacres, sexual violence, and forced displacement. These atrocities were often carried out by armed groups with the tacit or active support of corrupt officials who sought to exploit ethnic tensions for their gain. Similarly, the Banyarwanda, who are ethnic Rwandans living in the DRC, have faced widespread discrimination and violence. They are often viewed with suspicion and hostility by other ethnic groups, fueled by the belief that they are outsiders or collaborators with Rwandan interests. This animosity has led to frequent attacks on Banyarwanda communities, with little to no accountability for the perpetrators. The DRC's weak judicial system, marred by corruption, has failed to protect these minority groups or bring justice to those who have suffered abuses. Instead, impunity reigns, allowing the cycle of violence and discrimination to continue unchecked. The lack of effective governance and the pervasive influence of tribalism have made it nearly impossible for minority groups to seek redress or live in peace. The way forward to address the complex challenges facing the DRC a multifaceted approach is needed. Combating corruption requires strengthening institutions, ensuring transparency, and holding officials accountable. International support and pressure can play a critical role in pushing for these reforms, but domestic commitment is equally important. In addition, fostering a sense of national unity that transcends ethnic divisions is crucial. This can be achieved through inclusive political processes, equitable resource distribution, and education that promotes tolerance and understanding among different communities. It is also essential to address the human rights abuses against minority groups by ensuring that perpetrators are brought to justice and that victims receive the support they need. The DRC has the potential to become a prosperous and stable nation, but this will only be possible if the issues of corruption, tribalism, and human rights abuses are effectively addressed. By confronting these challenges head-on, the DRC can begin to break free from the cycle of violence and underdevelopment, paving the way for a brighter future for all its citizens.